first-time presenter, so she will get a coveted Bettakultcha badge, which I'm sure, exactly, woo indeed, which I'm sure will go for millions on eBay eventually, probably. So how it works is, I'll basically just say, are you ready? I'll press go, the slides will start, and then they'll stop. Okay, are you ready?
Right, let's go.
Okay, go.
Alright. Hi all, here to talk to you tonight about a topic which is both my personal passion, my area of creation, and also my area of academic research. Now, as you may have guessed from the slides behind me, this is of course the ludology of historic narratives, or more commonly, how we play the past. So, before we kick off, let's get a quick show of hands going. So, how many of you here have played a video game before? Alright, keep your hands up if it's had a historic aspect to it. Oh, this is going to be easier than I thought. Alright. So how many of us here are academics in some way? Oh, that's right. Right, and how many think that video games are irrelevant to your life? Oh, it's been easier sell than I thought. Right, so let's get a crack on. So ludology is the academic study of games, and history as well, of course, you know. History. It's a pretty emergent area of study, and it holds a very tenuous middle ground between fact and fiction, academic and entertainment. And it's some of these sort of difficulties that I want to talk to you about tonight. So the way I'm going to do this is through breaking these issues down into generalizations of three problematic groups of people that I've encountered so far in my research. So the first group are what I like to call the not relevanters. They're a group who doesn't engage with ludology of historic narratives simply because they don't like, understand, or really care about games. And whilst I respect your opinions, you're also very wrong. And the reason for this is that games are amazingly fun. They're a really revolutionary aspect of new media because they're the only one that you can actually play. You can actually consume it at the first point and participate in it. The second group of people are usually academics, and they're what we like to call the non-believers. Now, this group tend to say that black is not white, Jedi are not Sith, and education is different to entertainment. And of course, real history cannot be found in a video game. And finally, the third group is the group that history is boring, but games are fun. These are a group that actively participate in video games, but fail to frame their experience as valid or even historically relevant. So as part of my research, I went out and asked a group of gamers who about them had played a game with a historic element. Now, only 6% came back and said that they had, which seemed a bit shocking to me. So when I probed a bit harder, you actually find out that 100% of them have. Coming up on the slides next will be a couple of sort of reasons as to why they didn't frame their experiences as valid at all. Now, the interesting thing about this group is that at the same time, they can critically engage you in a detailed conversation regarding the complexities of 1450s mercantile systems in Florence, as experienced through Assassin's Creed 2. And yet, they'll turn around and in the same breath tell you that history is boring, they don't care, and they don't know anything about it. So, as with all the other groups, whilst I value their opinions, they're also exceptionally wrong. Wrong because games are an awesome way to explore a great past, and wrong also because so many of the experiences that they have are valid. But why should we care, or why do I care? First off, I find it shocking that such a large group of people are potentially excluded from experiencing and critically engaging with history, simply due to the media that it's presented on. Secondly, that we often fail to even explore new ways of engaging with heritage because of these preconceived ideas of what good history means, usually coming from a book or journal. And that, lastly, the vast majority of us are complicit in the negative feedback cycle simply by thinking that it doesn't matter. So I'm not saying that games are perfect. I'm not saying that there hasn't been significant issues in the way that we've dealt with them in the past. We need to work on those going forward. What I am saying is that none of the barriers and exclusions to interacting with heritage through games are actually real. After all, the process of being selective of one's data sources and creative with the subsequent narrative is something all historic narratives have in common, regardless of the media. So to put this another way, we simply can't record every aspect of history as it was from all perspectives. And even if we could, it probably wouldn't make much sense. It would be like criticising a map for not being as big, dynamic, or worldly as the real world, which simply doesn't make sense. So, games are not deficient, they're different, and they have so much untapped potential for experiencing history. So, I'm getting close to the end of my rant now, and I guess we need to sort of decide what part we will play, pun intended, going forward. So, to the group of not relevanters, even if you'll never play a game, you can at least now appreciate the diversity that games can bring to the table, so no more complicit destruction. To the group of the non-believers, the world is not always a dichotomy, so we should celebrate the diversity available for exploring the past and use them on their own grounds. To the history is boring, but games are fun. The two aren't mutually exclusive, and your experiences are relevant. After all, history belongs to all of us, it affects all of us, and in time we'll have a part to play in its creation. So, bearing all this in mind, I hope that no matter what your previous experience of games has been, you can go forward, play with your past, your present, and your future in a way which doesn't polarise, dichotomise, or exclude. Because after all, we have a part to play in the construction, understanding, and enjoyment of